Hello everybody, my name is Rojo and welcome back to BattleTech. Last time we kind of got screwed on a mission and we jumped 3 years into the future. At this point, we really should probably get to know our ship and our crew. So that's probably what we're going to be doing this episode. Just kind of checking out all of this kind of strategy layer, I guess. And chatting with some of our guys. So let's start with the captain's quarters here. See what we got. We've got heraldry. Oh, so we can actually change our shit here. Well, that's easy enough for me to want to do. We are the last chancers, not Dice's Marauders. And it's a sweet looking coat of arms for ourselves here. We'll start there. That one looks pretty good, but I was wondering if there's anything more obviously appropriate. And I don't see anything off the top of my head that's really reaching out to me here, but maybe I'll take another look through later and switch that up a little bit. But at any rate, it's all fine. Colors, we do want to probably dick with our colors here. We'll do something like, yeah, let's get all the chrome, shiny and chrome going. There we go. Good stuff. Alright, so what else have we got here? We've got faction reputations. Obviously, there's not really going to be much here. I do wonder... Nope, just because we're from the Taurian Concordat doesn't mean a damn thing. They don't really give a shit about what we're up to. And then our financial review. So each mech is actually costing us money just to keep it around. Then we have the bank loan interest payment. And then salaries for all of our guys. So we're racking up quite a lot of expenses just existing here. You can see why we want to get rid of that bank loan. That's a pretty big chunk of our expenses as it is. Navigation. We can go to the star map, which is how we'll get to the next planet. We're not going to do that right now, but we can.
How can I be of service, Commander?
Yeah, we can talk to Sumair for a sec here. Let's see here. What can we talk about? Alright, yeah, does the decision we made about the uncertified contract satisfy your concerns? My concerns won't be satisfied until our creditors have been paid and the loan sharks are off our backs, but this is a step in the right direction, and that makes me happy. I'm not blind to the risks that uncertified contracts entail, by the way. I mean, I know what we're doing is dangerous, but it's the best chance we've got to dig ourselves out of this hole. Fair enough. Tell me about navigation. Sure, ask away. I mean, it's kind of important for you to understand what you're doing, so if I can help with that, I'm all for it. You'd think after 3 years I'd kind of already know, but... Sure, let's go through some of this. How do we get from system to system? We just go to that thing, I think. Short answer, pick a destination on the star map. But it'll take time and money. Alright, fair enough. What can, yeah, tell me about what I can hear before I get there. So the star map marks political boundaries, and she's already made it so we can't go to no-fly zones. Okay. See, beyond political boundaries, it'll show us what factions are active in the system, so we know who's hiring. And we should probably check our rep before we go somewhere. It makes sense to me. Anything else? We'll see attributes about the things. Black market or poor clues to local store contents. Okay. Curious about black market, what we can get with that. The type of mercs we'll find in hiring halls contracts we may be offered in potential mission environments. Okay. Keep that in mind. The mechanics, do I really want to know it all? Let's just take a quick look at this. So, travel by dropships like ours, and travel by jump ships, dropships, travel... Okay, so this is like the real lore nitty-gritty, I guess. Heard stories about pirate points that a jump ship can use. What are those? They're bad news, Commander. Difficult to locate and dangerous to use. I've heard people using pirate points in desperate situations or on covert missions. It's not worth the risk of a misjump. I won't find any pirate points on my star map, I can tell you that. Alright, so maybe we'll learn more about those later. Do we always have to pay? Not always, no. If you check the contracts list, you will find employers posting travel. Right, yeah, like our current contract, travel expenses are already taken care of. Okay. So, we learned about that. Why does it take longer to get to one place than another when stuff's the same distance? Does that really matter? I don't know. Bothered me too before I joined the Academy. Turns out that in real life, space travel isn't like what you see in the adventure holovids that Darius makes us watch. For starters, some stars are more massive than others. In the case of a really big star, you have to range pretty far afield to find a location suitable for a KF jump. For us, that means a whole lot of molasses slow sublight travel before we can even dock with a jump ship. Gotcha, okay. Stores and hiring hall. What can I do while we're orbiting? Beyond negotiating a contract, most inhabited systems maintain a hiring hall where we can recruit new mech warriors. And most of them have merchants where we can buy shit. Sometimes even full mechs. Good. Cool. Alright. So that's enough of that, I guess. Tell me about yourself. Well, I'm from a noble family like you. We're old money. Made our fortune out in Rosselhag. Something like that. If you say so. And then repatriated to the Torian Concordat. That's where I grew up. Oh shit, we're from the same place. How about that? I'm not sure if this is the kind of stuff you were hoping to hear, but we talk about whatever. I ain't shy. We're in the Concordat. Maybe we have something in common. New Vandenberg, nice enough place. Do you like birds? I guess. Then you like New Vandenberg. It's basically one big aviary. I don't like them that much, I don't think. Too worried about getting pooped on, I think. Something like 2/3 of the native fauna has feathers, flutters in the wind, and splatters its excrement across every available surface. Yeah. Naturally, the original colonists adopted the feathery little monsters into the culture, and for those of us who came after, we're kind of stuck with it. Statues, fountains, murals, you name it, just a giant feathery pile of screeching alien birds. If the system had a motto, it'd be Squawk. Cute. Maybe if I hadn't grown up with it. Yeah, I understand that feel. Where'd you learn to pilot? The Torian Naval Institute on New Vandenberg. Well, among other places, it's a big campus. The low-gravity training station orbiting Lompoc was my second home for a time. T&I flight training isn't usually open to civilians, but my parents had good credit back then, and they could name-drop Dr. Calderon. Ah, he's like the leader of the Concordat, I think. That'll get you pretty far in the Concordat, for a while anyway. The other cadets in my class were especially happy sharing air with a civvy, but they couldn't say much, as I was nobility and they weren't. Everyone sort of kept me at arm's length, so I had plenty of time to concentrate on my studies. So she's obviously like the best of all the pilots. What are you going to tell me about House Meyer? You're looking at it. My parents are both gone, blood cancer and heart disease respectively. Both treatable, but they were out of money at that point, so into the ground they went. Ditto my brother David, who ran off to serve in the Third Succession War and never came back. Jesus Christ. It's like we were made for each other. With my character's background here. Oh man, I'm no stranger to loss myself. Yeah, I'm sure you're not. Nobody really is. Rough galaxy. David was 13 years older than me and had a foot out the door before I turned 3, and my parents, well, they raised me by proxy, in the traditional noble fashion. There was no real bond there even when I was young. None of this is to say that my folks were bad people. They weren't. They were just doing what they knew. Their upbringings had been outsourced just like mine was. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about my family. They're gone. I'm here. The end. Any other questions? Tell me about Rosselhag. It was a long time ago, but yeah, as my parents told it, we were landowners on Pomme de Terre. It's an agricultural world in the breadbasket of the Draconis Combine. Ah, okay. And yes, I know Pomme de Terre means potato. My ancestors came from the planet Potato. It took some time for me to accept that, but hey, here we are. Nice. Anyway, moving on. Hausmeyer's holdings were meager, but the value of that land was astronomical. For minor nobility, we were really very wealthy. And then the Third Succession War broke out and the political rhetoric got ugly. Hausmeyer didn't want a single part of what was happening, so my ancestors emptied their accounts and ran. As a rule, House Kurita, I think, probably takes a really dim view of nobles who cut and run. Words like traitor and defector start getting thrown around. In the Combine, you really don't want to be on the receiving end of allegations like that. Wouldn't be standing here today if House Calderon hadn't granted my ancestors asylum in the Concordat. In all likelihood, Hausmeyer would have been wiped out before I was even born. House Kurita is the leader, I think, of the Combine? Maybe? Alright, well, I think we've chatted with her enough. Catch you later.
I'll be here if you need me.
Good to know. Let me take one more look at this star map real quick. Just wanna... So this is Urqueen. It's an Arctic planet. How the hell are we on an Arctic planet? We just did a desert mission, didn't we? But geothermal events created temperate zones. Huh. Yeah, tell me about extensive volcanism. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are frequent. It's poor. It's a mining area. Primitive civilization, small population, Arctic world, medium gravity planet. So I guess maybe that affects like our jump jets and stuff like that. Planetary government. It's literally just the planetary government? Okay. And then the factions that are here are the planetary government, magistracy, and the Freedom Peoples, Free Worlds League. Yeah, okay. Cool. We'll keep all that in mind. We'll check out the mech bay last. Let's take a look at our barracks. Because we do have some warriors. Maybe we can level up our shit. I don't know. Let's see. We've got 2600 XP. We can absolutely do some leveling up here. Take a look at what our actual skills do. We also have this too. Oh, cool. We can learn about our dudes a little bit here. Noble family, bankrupt, merchant guard. So I guess maybe these will come into play at some point for something. Days with the company? Excuse me, I believe I have 365 times 3 years of service. Oh, fair enough. So what do we got here? Gives plus 5% base weapon hit. What if I up that? Get another plus 2.5%. And what are these? These are our possible skills that we can get. Multi-target. We've seen that in action. That seems pretty useful. And then breaching shot. Attacks with a single weapon, ignore cover, and guarded on the target. So we can get past defenses. We've seen, I think, that in the skirmish battle that I did. At least I think I talked about it. Evasive movement. Generates an extra evasive charge from movement actions up to its maximum. Which I have no idea what that would be. So piloting increases that in your melee hit. And gives me an unsteady threshold at that point. So if I do this just gives me more weapon hit. What about guts? I think guts gives us more HP. More max injuries. Yeah. Might want to get some guts, but let's see, bulwark. Right, so we get guarded as long as we don't move. Behemoth already has that, so you can actually see right there. And then what do we have this way? We've got Juggernaut. Successful melee attacks knock your target back one initiative phase. That's interesting. And then we have Tactics. -1 indirect fire penalty. So I think this is when, like, we have somebody in view or sensor locked, but we're trying to, like, hit them with LRMs and shit like that from, you know, the other side of a mountain where we can't see them. Speaking of sensor lock, there it is right there. So until the end of its current round, it removes 2 evasive charges. And then here, Master Tactician, mechs piloted by this MechWarrior game +1 initiative, and remove 1 bar of stability damage when reserving. Interesting. And we can only have 3 abilities, but I don't know if we can, like, swap them out as we level up, or how that works. Let's see. I kind of wanted me to be a bit of a tactician. So if I do that, I guess that'll be that. And then maybe next time we'll get a little bit of guts and some more. Probably going to want some more gunnery if we're being realistic here, just so we can have a better chance to hit. Confirming this ability selection is permanent, you may only have 2 primary abilities and 1 specialist ability. MechWarriors cannot be retrained. Maybe I should think about this a little bit more then. I'll consider.
Waiting on you, Commander.
But other people do have some XP that they can spend. We actually didn't even use this guy. You can only ever bring 4 people into a fight, because that is like the canonical lance, as it's called, I guess, is 4 mechs. Anyway, this is me. I cannot be killed in combat, but I can still be injured or otherwise sidelined through normal means. I see. Okay, so we can get hurt, but we won't die. Means we can be maybe a little bit more risky with ourselves if we're feeling brave here.
What can I do for you?
Yeah, and so and so she's actually a gunner since she already has multi-target. I wonder if that changes as she maybe gets different abilities. Interesting. I'm kind of curious how this is all going to play out. In the meantime,
yes, Commander.
You actually have a ton of XP to spend.
Commander.
You have a little bit.
Orders.
So I can kind of make these 2 guys whatever I want, in a sense, because they have a lot of XP, kind of like I do. These 2 are sort of already set up. I wonder, can I change their names? No, it doesn't seem like it. Rank recruit. I see. Oh, I see. That's what this is. Cool. All right. So I think we've looked at this enough here. Let's go to the command center. We'll chat with Darius here. All right. Always good to see you at Ops. What can I do for you? I want to know more about the debt. All right. That's fair. I'm glad you're taking an interest. Got time to go into the nuts and bolts if you do. What do you want to know? Remind me, why the fuck did we take out so many loans in the first place? How much time have you got? I mean, we've been hit with 1,000 expenses since we were forced to flee Cormadir, but I guess you're mostly interested in the big ticket items. Well, first and foremost, there's the Leopard. We still owe a lot of money on this ship, and losing her is not an option. Then you've got all the assorted fallout from our impromptu trip across the frontier, jump ship passage, docking fees, miscellaneous travel expenses, all paid for on credit, as if we had a choice. There's more I could get into, the loan we took out to set up Markham's family, etc., but that'd be gilding the lily at this point. The fact is, we're in a lot of trouble with a lot of lenders, but hey, we're mercenaries. We live for trouble. Who are we in debt to exactly? How about I give you the top 3? First, you've got Blue Horizon. That's the big commercial bank on Lyreton? Probably Lyreton. They're the only ones that own the lease on this ship. Then there's the Intrigue Consortium. They've got people everywhere, but they're based somewhere in Merrick space. The Free Worlds League. We borrowed from one of their associates, quote-unquote, to make the jump away from Cormadeer on the day of the coup. Finally, you've got Lock-On Lending. They're a frontier outfit from Haster, and they're about as crooked as they come. With a name like Lock-On Lending, I can't imagine how you could come to such a conclusion. Now, normally you wouldn't do business with an outfit like the Double L, but we didn't have a choice. They made a deal with Blue Horizon to buy half our debt. So that's the big three: a commercial bank, a shadowy financial consortium, and a bunch of leg breakers in cheap suits. And each of them is dangerous in its own way. Alright. Alright, what about running the company? Alright, what do we need to know? Contracts. What do I need to know about those? Outfits like ours depend on the Mercenary Review Board to post certified contracts working for reliable employers. I say reliable, but let's face it, most jobs come down to us doing work for the rich and powerful, or doing work that the rich and powerful can't be seen doing. Mercenaries are deniable assets. Fair enough. We travel from system to system, picking up jobs and making ends meet. Sure, space travel costs C-bills, but some employers are desperate enough to pay travel expenses for mercenaries willing to make a few jumps for a gig. What intel will I get? Most employers will give us enough info to understand who we're fighting and why. Some are cagier than others, but by and large, they want us to succeed. Because of this, we generally get enough intel to get the job done. It isn't a perfect system, but it works well enough. There are a few key things to look for in a contract. First, you need to understand what type of mission it is. Next, you should take account of the climate conditions in the area of operation. Finally, it's important to know the expected strength of the imposing force, or OPFOR. Vital, even. Alright, what kind of missions we got? In my experience, most contracts come down to one or more of a few basic ideas: blowing something up, taking something down, keeping something safe, or making a mess with heavy ordnance. There'll be variations here and there, but for the most part our jobs are going to fit into one of those categories. Giant bipedal weapon platforms aren't exactly known for their subtlety. Climate conditions. If you're not watching the climate conditions, you're not full command of the battlefield. In most environments, you watch your MechWarrior's weapon fire and jump jet use so they don't overheat. Badlands and deserts make your mechs run hotter, so you're going to want to pay careful attention. Low atmosphere and non-terraformed planets are worse. Be wise to swap out some energy weapons for ballistic weapons in those environments. Pack on extra heat sinks. But the vacuum of lunar environments is the worst. It's counterintuitive, I know. Space is cold, right? But no atmosphere basically means no heat dispersion, and you're sitting on top of a fusion reactor. Gotcha. All that being said, frozen environments are like heaven for our mech warriors. The heat from weapon fire and jump jets dissipates at a much greater rate, and you'll have the maximum options on the battlefield. Mission difficulty. Important to have an idea of what you'll be up against, etc., etc. We're on the asset and mission intel. Yeah, I guess so. So we get overall strength, but maybe not details. The best mission's difficulty rating will give us an idea of our post-mission repair bills and medbay time, or a signal that we should avoid altogether. As a general rule, we should field the heaviest mechs we can on a given mission. Bigger isn't always better, though. Speed and mobility are important on escort and other missions where flexibility is as valuable as firepower. Trying to give me a heads up when we see that kind of stuff. Okay. Oh my god. Can I withdraw? Absolutely. That's a great thing about being our merc. It isn't our fight. We're here to make money, not die for a cause. You can back out of contract negotiations at any time with no harm done, but once we deploy onto a battlefield, it gets a little trickier. If things start going sideways during a mission, you can still withdraw to save on repair bills and medbay time, but it may still cost us. If we withdraw before achieving any objectives and destroying at least one enemy, the Mercenary Review Board will rule it a bad faith withdrawal. Not only will we not get paid, we won't get any battlefield salvage either, plus our reputation will suffer, both with our employer and with the MRB. Now, if we withdraw after achieving an objective and destroying at least one enemy, then the board will rule it a good faith withdrawal. Our pay will still be reduced, but our reputation won't take a hit, and that's important for business. Good to know. Hopefully we won't ever have to do that. What about reputation? The mercenary outfit's reputation determines the quality of the contracts we're offered, the quality of the mech warriors willing to hire on with us, and the deals we get on weapons, mechs, and equipment. Most employers won't offer us the really juicy contracts until we've proven ourselves over time, but once our rep is solid, we'll get access to some high-paying gigs with opportunities for some serious salvage. Why is salvage so important? If sea-bills are like blood, salvage is like food for a mercenary company, or something like that. I don't really do analogies, let's just leave it at salvage is good. Here's why. Salvage lets you replace components you've lost or upgrade your mechs to better suit your combat tactics. If you don't end up needing the salvage you get, you can always sell it off at the nearest store. Salvage rights are a time-honored tradition of the mercenary trade, and figuring out who gets what at the end of an engagement is a vital part of our business. Alright, how do I negotiate? Mercenary contract negotiation is pretty straightforward out here in the periphery. It's all based on the Golden Triangle: sea-bills, salvage, and rep. Sea-bills are the coin of the realm, so to speak. We use those for travel expenses, etc., etc. Salvage is part of our take, too. The more salvage we take off the battlefield, the fewer sea-bills are deposited. But the fewer sea-bills we ask for, the more salvage we can get. And you may want to take less money and less salvage in order to increase our reputation. Alright. It's pretty simple. Every 30 days we have to pay the crew to cover our regular operating expenses. Upkeep for the mechs, etc., etc. I think we kind of already know about finances a bit, but... so if we don't have enough cover our expenses, then we're out of business. Merc life doesn't allow for second chances. So I'm guessing that's like the lose condition. So if we run out of money. How can I... can I ask you anyway, how can I raise the operating costs of our company? What? Well, obviously, the more mech warriors we hire, the more we gotta pay. And any upgrades you make to the ship will have upkeep costs as well. Lowering operating costs. Putting mechs you don't plan to field for a while into storage. Requires time and sea-bills to refit their equipment and ready them for combat. Stored mechs have no upkeep costs. Okay, so that's good to know. Remember, you can sell mech chassis and equipment if we're ever low on cash, right? And we can always dismiss mech warriors as well. What about mech warriors? What's the deal with morale? Mercenaries aren't like members of the Royal Guard. They're in it for the paycheck, not the loyalty. So keeping spirits up matters. Mech warriors with high morale get inspired more often on the battlefield. Their heads are in the game, and inspired mech warriors can create opportunities. I've seen inspired mech warriors take precision or make precision strikes I thought were impossible, focusing their fire at one location on a speeding enemy, as if it were standing still on a shooting range 25 yards away with a sign that said "Shoot me" in neon green. Inspired mech warriors show amazing vigilance too. So yeah, those are the two abilities we can spend our morale on. So mercs with low morale can leave an outfit like ours without warning. Sometimes you'll see it coming, sometimes you won't. So I guess we don't want low morale at the very least. What about training? Mech warriors gain experience every mission they complete. You can chart their training and guide their development in 4 skills. As they become stronger in a particular skill, your mech warriors gain access to special abilities. First ability is Mech Warrior Specialization. Mech warriors can only have 2 specializations total, so pay attention when you're training them. The first 2 they acquire are the only 2 they'll have. Ah, okay, so we really need to pay attention to those very first 2 abilities that we get. The second ability is the Mech Warrior's Expertise. Mech warriors only get 1 of those, and it has to be from one of their specializations. Whichever expertise they learn first is the only one they'll have, so 3 abilities total per MechWarrior, and that's a lot of possible combinations. Okay. Do experienced MechWarriors require higher salaries? I bet they do. Also, nearly every skill increase grants a minor boost. Alright. Wouldn't you? Yes. Yes, I would. And anything else? Things happen on a mercenary ship all the time. You throw a bunch of mech jockeys in the confined space with technicians and crew for months on end, and you're going to see some spillover from the battlefield. Operating merc outfit isn't a glamorous lifestyle. There are hard choices to be made on a regular basis, anything from breaking up a fight over petty bullshit to dealing with faulty power couplings. Still, I wouldn't trade this for just about anything. Alright. Let's learn about Darius. Let's see. Before any of this started, you worked with the Royal Guard. Tell me about that. It's more than just a deployment. It was a full campaign. High Lord Tamani gave us a job back in 19. We were supposed to be assisting... I think that's 3019, by the way. We were supposed to be assisting the Royal Guard to round up a pirate clan on Fjolder. Commander Markham thought it'd be easy money. Turned out to be anything but. We lost a dozen mech warriors in 3 months of the Fjolder campaign. Had to hose them out of their cockpits. Oh, God. Would have been more if it wasn't for Sir Raju. He saved people's asses on more than one occasion. Went out of his way to do it. And thing is, he didn't have to. We weren't under his protection. We were hired help. A lot of people in Mastiff's position would have used us as cannon fodder, but that wasn't his way. He treated us as if we were his own. He's a good man, Rojo, as good as they come. Tell me a bit about yourself. I grew up in Nassau Heights. It's one of the HAB stations? Orbiting Artru. 30 decks of economic stratification with the corporate suits on the upper decks and everyone else crammed into the lower ones. My old man was a dockhand. We lived in deck 28. 2 levels up from the bottom. The other station, with the other station maintenance personnel. 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, my dad would load and unload cargo shuttles, vacuum-sealed Quillar and nutrient paste for people like us, the luxury goods for the suits upstairs. Some kind of food. The old man must have unloaded 1,000 cases of Castleton Eel Roe. Plump, succulent eggs the size of melon balls. Never got to taste any, though. Any one of those tins would have cost him half a year's wages. Anyway, I don't want to saddle you with my life story. Suffice to say that I've got an eyeful of what I didn't want to be on Nassau Heights, and I did what I had to do to change my circumstances. By the age of 16, I struck out on my own. I left the station with a handful of skills, an enormous web of contacts, and a rucksack full of that expensive caviar. And once I made it off Nassau Heights, I never looked back. Alright.
I'll see you.
So last but not least, I guess we can talk to Yang here. We can also take a quick look at the hiring hall just for fun here. Big Sly. It's a Kickstarter, yep, Kickstarter guy. I guess he's like pretty good because he's got better stats or something. What's this? Yeah, okay.
Standing by.
Awaiting orders. I'm your spaniel.
Aye,
Standing by.
aye. Orders?
Receiving you.
Pigpen, huh? Yeah, we don't really need any more mech warriors right now. What about the store? Is there anything cool in here? We don't really have a whole lot of money to work with. We could buy a locust part or a spider part. I don't really want any of those. I probably don't want any of these either right now, although I might want to do some refitting, but I'll do that probably next time. This is running a little bit long here. We're going to talk to Yang real quick. Hey, boss, welcome to the Mech Bay. How much trouble are we in? Dunno, I mean, we're doing alright for the moment, but give it a few months, maybe a year, you know how it goes. Maybe our drive system will give out, maybe some debris will perforate the hull, who knows, but on that day, we're going to need to be able to cover our repair costs, and if we can't, well, that's that. What about the mech bay? Alright, anything I should know about the mech bays themselves? Beyond each cubicle holding one battle mech, not much. It's all about capacity. The more mech bays we have, the more mechs we can keep battle ready. Yeah, that's fine. I think we already know about mech storage. Limited capacity in the mech bay, so we do need to store overstock for eventual sale or use. Second, we don't pay upkeep costs on those. And third, whenever we pick up partial mech salvage from the battlefield, I put it in storage. Okay. If you gather enough, or buy enough partial mech salvage to complete a battle mech chassis, my team will assemble it right away. Alright. Battle mechs are expensive as hell, so assembling one is the best bet. Okay. What happens when one goes into storage? When you send a mech chassis into storage, our mech techs dismount all its weapons and equipment and place them in your inventory for use on other chassis. Mech components. What can we put on what? One of my favorite topics. Two types of components. Weapons and equipment. What about ballistic weapons? Those are the autocannons and stuff, I believe. Yep, pack a good punch, generate little heat, and can destabilize the enemy if they hit it enough. So they require ammo. Ammo can explode. That's bad. Also heavy and take up a lot of space. Energy weapons. Don't use ammo, but they generate lots of heat. These are intense beams of coherent light. They are great for cutting things up, but they aren't much good at destabilizing. The projectile, or the particle projector cannon, is the one big exception to the rule. In addition to massive damage, a hit from a PPC can destabilize an enemy, maybe even slow it down a bit. Lots of heat, though. Missile weapons. Missile weapons are my favorites. Yeah, they require ammo and generate moderate heat. The pounding they deliver can destabilize an enemy faster than most other weapons, and having multiple projectiles in a shot means you're almost always guaranteed at least a single hit. Long-range missiles are also capable of indirect fire. If one of your units has line of sight on an enemy, it can act as a spotter for LRM-equipped units that don't. The spotter, a mech equipped with LRMs, can stay behind cover and arc its missiles to hit the enemy. Spotter can increase your launcher's effective range, too. Granted, the enemy can do the same to you, but that's someone else's problem. I don't want to sell short-range missiles short, though. They can generate incredible impact and they do great damage. We've seen the effect of that pretty recently. What about support weapons? Support weapons are lighter than the other, small lasers, machine guns, that kind of thing. I programmed our targeting computers to automatically fire them after a melee attack if they're activated. Yeah. Seen that as well. In the skirmish, tell me about other types of equipment. It's a big list, boss. I suggest you check the store in every system we travel to. You can install stronger cockpits to reduce the injuries our mech warriors will take. Arm actuators that increase melee damage and rangefinders that increase the range at which enemies can be visually acquired. Cool. All take up critical slots on a battle mech. Some add weight, so keep your eyes open for them. Putting powerful weapons and equipment on your mech is all fine, but remember the trade-off is always armor. You know how they say the best defense is a strong offense? We do definitely want to take a look at our armor. I hear that some manufacturers have developed better versions. Have they? True that. Different manufacturers tweak their weapons to deliver more damage, have higher accuracy, destabilize, etc. The trick is finding them. They're rare out here in the periphery, but when I see one in the store or a salvage pile, I always mark it with a plus for you. Okay. Cool. Repairing damage. How do I repair my damage? I think we just go to the mech bay, just stop by. Alright. If I see armor missing, I'm going to repair it automatically. Standard operating procedure. We have so much scrap armor, it's basically free. Mechs with destroyed equipment, however, will need replacements. Gotcha. Okay. I know that I can do this. Now you're talking. I'll go through this. I have seen some of the mech lab, but yeah, we'll talk about the mech lab a little bit later. So we'll just go through this so that we can say that we clicked it all. What's a hard point? That is where we can mount our shit. How do I know what a mech is good at? Great question. A lot of different battle mechs out there. It's hard to know what they're built for. I mean, I can, of course, tell what they're supposed to do. You, on the other hand, might need some help. If you check your technical readouts in the mech lab, you'll find I've included some thoughts about each mech's off-the-rack purpose or stock role. Okay. What happens after we order a refit? Once you confirm your work order, it will be placed in the queue with other repairs and refits in your timeline. Remember, mech will be unavailable for combat until its work order is complete, so plan your refits carefully. Queue them up while we're heading to the next place. How long does it take? Depends on the conditions you're working in. Good mech bay with advanced scaffolding and equipment is faster than the one you'll find on a standard Leopard. Okay. And, heat modifiers and stuff. Watch your heat. Jump jets and weapons generate said heat. Something gets too hot, then we take structure damage. How can I affect heat in combat? Can toggle weapons on and off. We can also go into water, I believe, as we saw. Or heat efficient, and that's the job of heat sinks, I believe. Install more heat sinks if it runs too hot in combat. Heat sinks vent plasma from the mech's engine and do a lot to dissipate the buildup from jump jets and weapon fire. Alright, stability. I wonder, is there a way that I can affect that? Walking over rough terrain will hurt our stability. I don't think we've seen that yet. And yeah, if they get too destabilized, they'll fall over. And less vulnerable to weapon fire. Evasion, cover, and bracing. Short form is, the farther it goes, the more evasive it becomes. Yeah, we kind of already talked about a lot of this stuff. In the skirmish episode. About cover. So you can tell me how much cover helps? Doesn't look like it. Time me to brace my mech, but that doesn't make it harder to hit. It'll make it harder to hit, but it should buffer some of the damage you take by half or so. So think about it. Alright. So that's all the tutorials from him. Tell me a little bit about yourself. That's a long story, boss. Shortest version I can give you. I signed on after I served my term in the Third Succession War fighting for the Kaplan Confederation. It's House Liao. If you want to know more, you can ask whatever you want. Otherwise, let's get back to talking shop. Where are you from originally? Brian in the Confederation. You may have heard our claim to fame. The Crowley Lizard Cow. Okay. No, well, trust me, they're delicious. Anyways, the story goes, Brian was once a really nice place, a tourist spot, big with hikers and fishing enthusiasts, pale blue skies, emerald green seas, and a booming agricultural business. You know, the works. I never knew it that way, though. Stephen Amaris got to it a couple centuries before I was born, and, well, that was that. Or Stefan Amaris, the usurper. As the story goes, Bryant used to have these enormous orbital mirrors, storm inhibitors they called them. The Star League put them into place when Amaris took the system in his Civil War, yet the troops use them for target practice. Without those mirrors, Bryant reverted to its natural state, a miserable little ball of wind-blown dirt, actively hostile to human life. By the time I came along, the only places where people could live in relatively safely were the planet's poles. Of course, you couldn't fit a planet's entire population into a handful of cities at its poles. There isn't enough space, no matter how far down you dig or how tall you build. A lot of people, mostly the poor, died in the early days. There's still a lot of overcrowding in Bryant cities even now. That's my childhood home in a nutshell. Way too many people jammed into a tiny claustrophobic space with nowhere to go but off-planet. I cleared out of there as fast as I could and never looked back. Gotta admit, though, I do miss the taste of the lizard cow. Alright, what about your military experience? The 2nd St. Ives Lancers, 1st Battalion under Major Ling. We saw more action than most. The armor is a souvenir from my time in the service. I lost the original back in 3010 in St. Louis. Yeah, he does have a mech arm. You know, when we first arrived at St. Louis, I loved the place. It was an agricultural world, sort of a breadbasket for the neighboring systems. Green fields, rolling hills, you get the picture. We just walked out of hell on Kittery. The Fed Rats drove us out in 05 with our tails between our legs, so it looked like paradise to us. Kittery. And what's a Fed Rat? Person living in or whose natural origin is the Federated Suns. Ah, yes. Considered derogatory, you don't say. I remember kicking back in the mech bay, my feet propped up on an engine block, sipping a snifter of ambergris vermouth. Not a bad way to spend a sunny afternoon. Anyway, turned out the Federated Suns weren't done with us yet. We were barely a month into our deployment, and they sent SETI Hussars to burn us out. I'm sure there were strategic reasons for House Davian to want St. Louis, but it sure felt personal to me. Long story short, one of their scouts managed to slip through our perimeter and hit my mech bay. I was tinkering around a Centurion's custom-made rumble seat at the time. Being surrounded by all that armor is the only reason I made it out alive. Rumble seat. Optional secondary passenger seat. Still, I didn't make it out unscathed. I lost 2 of my favorite assistants and my own right arm, and I've got this ugly thing grafted onto me as a reminder. Why'd you leave the Kaplan Confederation? After my tour duty was up, you mean? I don't know. It was just time for a change. Besides, the place wasn't for me anymore. In a way, it never really was. I learned a lot from my time in the service. Got a first-hand view of the elitist bullshit that saturates Kaplan culture, how it rewards highborn idiots at the common people's expense. Speaking as a thoroughly common man, that didn't sit right with me. When my tour was over, I walked away and never looked back. Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad you did. Way more than once if memory serves. Still, I appreciate the kind words, and for what it's worth, I'm happy to be here with this crew. Alright, I'm not going to say this one, but anyway, I guess in your position I probably would have done the same. Let's talk about something else. And let's talk about something else. And let's talk about nothing else.
I'll be here if you need anything.
Cool. Well, there you go. So there's a look at the Leopard. Kind of a long look, but we got to know the crew a little bit, learn a little bit about the mechanics of this layer of the game. And I think when we come back, we're going to take a look at our mech bay real quick, and then we're going to head over to the next mission.